Hello, 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 and welcome to another fantastic episode of Anarchy Among Friends Roundtable discussion. Before we get started, let me remind you that we are covered by the BIP-COT no government license, which allows for the reuse and distribution of this podcast by anyone and everyone except by bludgies or government and the bludgies thereof. You can learn more about that at bipcot.org. That is BIPCOT.org. We planned a full crew. We're down to a half crew. Woohoo!
Yeah,
that's all right. So it looks like it's just me and Andrew. Derica checked in and she's not feeling real great, so she's not going to be here. Dan is AWOL. I guess, yeah. He's probably sucked into Facebook. He made a Facebook account for the first time in over a year, almost a year, something like that.
Are we taking bets on how long this one lasts?
I was thinking about that earlier. Like, we should have some sort of betting pool going. Like how long Dan's gonna last before he gets a ban. Like one of the first, like, he posted, like, he did a profile picture and a cover photo, and then like the second or third thing he posted was a 9/11 meme.
Oh my god!
Like, it's like, all right, Dan's officially back.
Oh man,
it's only a matter of time before Dan catches another ban.
He's been getting away with a lot of stuff on Instagram, so
he's been pushing it on Instagram. Yeah,
he has been pushing it. I'm surprised, but I think Instagram really only kind of bans you if it's nudity and it gets reported. Like, I don't think they have an algorithm, so
which is kind of nice, I guess. But Derica says sorry and a little sad face. It's all right, Derica. We love you anyway. No, Lindsay is on the phone, but if she was here, she would say something about you getting better and blah 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 blah.
And how she loves you, and
yeah, we're not getting all mushy like that. So awkward silence. I love it.
Yeah. Now Lindsay will be here a little bit later once she gets off the phone with her brother and stuff.
So, yeah. So I don't know. You just want to jump into it, I guess.
Sure. Why not? Might as well.
Unless you want to complain about the snow more.
Oh my god! I mean, you can kind of see it through this because the cat keeps destroying the blinds, but the snow it started snowing again, and like I was helping a friend actually move like this huge entertainment center thing with my truck, and even my truck a couple of times I spun the wheels pretty bad, like everything melted, and then
and you don't have some small weak little truck either.
No, I have a jacked up Ram, and I'm on 35-inch off-road tires, and I was still spinning a little bit, and I only had it in 2 to be fair, but man, it's that time of year again, so we're going to be coated in snow and everything. I'm going to do probably like a video or something of the rotary lights here in town since it's such a big deal. Get that because I work right next to it, and it's apparently now officially again the largest LED display in the world for Christmas lights, and it's cool, so I'm going to try and get that, and it'll be neat to do like a walkthrough. If I had a 360 camera, anybody wants to loan me a 360 camera, I'm more than happy to use that and do a full 360 tour, but
fucking Dan's posting on Facebook.
What did he forget?
I don't know. I just tagged him in the post, so his ass better get here. Yeah,
the hell, man.
Derica says the doctor says she needs a backectomy, backectomy, BACKIOTOMY, backotomy. I don't know.
What, like have her back removed? I don't
know. She's trying to be all funny and smart, but she's using improper grammar.
Yeah, it's like I don't think that's right. I'm no expert. But...
Well, yep. If it makes you feel better, I'm California cold. Like I got my hoodie on, but I'm wearing shorts.
Oh, yeah. It's right now. It says it is 33 degrees here, which is actually like unseasonably warm right now. Starting like this coming week, though, our highs are going to be in the teens.
52.
Jealous a little bit. I mean, I'm jealous of the weather, not the rest of this anything about that state at all.
I'll trade your gun laws for my weather any day.
Yeah, no. Although we'll see how much longer that holds out with that. Well, I mean, Evers, I don't know that Evers is actually going to make a difference because the state Senate and the Senate and the state House are still Republican controlled and still very pro-gun. So,
Derica says the backotomy line is a line from Half Baked. Damn it.
I was probably half baked when I saw that movie. So remember?
That's all right. Yeah, I'm too old to remember that movie. No. Derica's showing her age on that one.
The young Matthew McConaughey.
All right.
That's that era because the Dazed and Confused, Half Baked, Mallrats, all that stuff came out right around that same time frame, didn't it? So,
yeah. Oh. So, speaking of snow, since we're on the topic, I want to talk about this out of Chicago. Like that happens every year. Like this, it's nothing new. It happens every single year. You know, Chicago does this. They have winter parking rules, and they have signs that say no parking 3 a.m. to 7 a.m., December 1st to April 1st, or when there's over 2 inches of snow.
Bust out your ruler.
Like, not that. Dan, I want you to see the. You saw the meme, but not.
Yeah.
Bastard.
Alternate side parking, that gets everybody. I think everybody that is in a place where we get snow has to deal with that same crap. And it's one thing, like I understand what they're trying to do, right? They're trying to make sure that they can clear snow out of the way so that that everybody can park nice and up against the road, the corners and up against the curb and nobody's in the way. And I understand that, but the cat just scared the crap out of me.
She jumped up. She wants cuddles.
But at the same time, like La Crosse anyway, and I know Chicago does it too, because I've been told that they enforce it even like whether there's snow or not. And like that law, the fact that it says, or if there's 2 inches of snow on the ground, it's telling you straight up, I don't care if there's snow. I'm still going to enforce it. Why? Because it has stopped becoming about safety, which is their argument for it, and started becoming about revenue generation, the fact that they can make money.
Well, last year when Sparta?
Yeah, Sparta, Wisconsin. Yeah.
The town council here, because it went to town council to find out if we should also not charge people for alternate side parking if there is no snow on the ground. They basically said no. It has nothing to do with that at all. Nope. It has everything to do with the fact that it makes us money.
Okay, so the article I'm looking at right now, it talks about it does mention the snow. It mentions a winter parking ban took at 3 a.m. Saturday morning. So this is yesterday morning, Chicago time. The ban is enforced regardless of snow on 107 miles of main streets across Chicago between 3 a.m. and 7 a.m. until March 1st. So regardless of snow, that's the key thing here. 264 vehicles were towed yesterday morning.
Jesus Christ.
264 vehicles towed yesterday morning. A $150 fee, a $60 ticket, and a storage fee of $20 per day.
So you're telling me that the average
that's $230 right off the bat.
Right, exactly. $230 out of nowhere because you happen to leave your vehicle in a place for 4 hours.
3 a.m. to 7 a.m.
Yeah. So literally you go to sleep. Let's say you go to sleep at 10:30. You come home at 10, park your car, go to sleep at 10:30. When you wake up in the morning, your car has been towed, whether there's snow or not for 10:30 to 11:30 to 12:30 to 1:30 to 2. What? Are you serious?
No, last year, the department towed a total of 9,833 vehicles.
Wait, it's what, $230, right?
$230 right off the bat.
$230.
9,833.
That is $2,262,000.
And how much is the storage fee?
$20 a day.
And that's
$20
I'm gonna
a
say,
day.
and that's assuming that you picked that every single one of those people picked up their card the very first day.
Yeah. On
that's-
average, I'm
that's-
going to assume it's going to take people 2 days to pick up their vehicle.
Well, that's if they have the money, because you got to pay that $230 to get your vehicle out.
Yep,
Right, so that's $230, then it becomes $250, then it becomes $270, then it becomes $290, and it compounds if you don't have the money. So they're effectively taking transportation away from poor people because they happen to park on the street in front of their apartment building.
But debtor's prison doesn't exist in the United States, right?
Yeah, totally doesn't exist. Totally.
It's
here in La Crosse, they've actually started repoing vehicles if you have unpaid fines. By the way, that's what happened to Katie's car.
They seized it.
They seized it. That's why she's still getting payment requests from Nissan, because she hasn't told Nissan they took the car.
Why didn't she pay to get it? Oh, never mind. Anyway,
Yeah.
So like at this point, then they're saying, okay, well, you can't afford to pay your fines, so we're going to keep fining you.
The overnight parking ban is separate from another snow-related ban that affects another 500 miles of roads when there are at least 2 inches of snowfall. The department said. So this is a parking ban that is separate from the snow ban. So this has nothing to do with snow removal or safety or anything like that.
It's purely just for revenue generation at that point, because
absolutely
it's totally unrelated. But I mean, that's the thing is, like, so Sparta, when we had no snow, there was a year where like literally we were outside in t-shirts on Christmas Eve. Like, it was so ridiculously warm for Wisconsin. It was insane, but we had no snow. And the Sparta police issued an official statement that said, we're not going to enforce this. This is insane. We're not going to ticket you when there's no snow for not following alternate parking. The response from the La Crosse Police Department was, according to the city council, we are required to still enforce it because it's not about snow removal. It's about the loss of revenue that the city will see if we don't.
Loss of revenue, meaning we didn't steal as much money from you.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And that's the thing, is they straight up admitted.
Derica says, repeat after me. I am free.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not like, and then on top of that, like, look at Chicago. So, all right, so they're gonna ticket you if you park your car on the street, which you're really not gonna have much of a choice to do if you don't have a like off-street parking. And then their zoning laws won't allow parking lots of certain sizes in certain places. So they're denying you the ability to park your car there.
So I mean, what are the options? What are the options? Like,
well, you
park
should
in the fast food.
Healthier humans and walk and bike to all of your places, especially in Wisconsin, because it's clearly a balmy 70 degrees all year round. Yeah. Oh, wait.
Yeah. Trudge through the Chicago dirty snow.
Yeah, I mean, what are the other options? Like, park in the fast food parking lot, 4 miles away, or the liquor store parking lot. Oh yeah, you'll get towed there also.
Yeah, the best you could hope for is to find some sort of a small businesses parking lot that they will allow you to pay them a fee to go park there. And what's funny is they actually do that in Japan. Places will actually, because according to Japanese law, the businesses actually own the parking in front of their business, even on the street. That's theirs. So you can actually pay businesses for the parking space. So you just always have a parking space.
Yeah.
But the problem is that could be a quarter mile from your house. Like,
what is it? What's the other option? I mean, we don't have flying cars, right?
Yeah.
So to drive around between 3 a.m. and 7 a.m.
Apparently, yeah.
I'm sorry, you got home at 10. You only get 5 hours of sleep. Then you have to get in your car and drive around for 4 hours.
No, I think they're trying to get us to all work third shift.
Yeah, we all work overnight so that all of our cars are parked in the work parking lot overnight.
Yeah, if there's enough room in the parking lot overnight.
Yeah, if there's even enough room, exactly. Assuming that your business has the room for it. I mean, it's God damn, it's nuts.
And what'd you say that was $2 million, over $2 million last year?
Yeah, like $2.25 million.
That's insane. What's up, brother?
What up?
Dan didn't know that we were live, apparently.
I had no idea, dude.
Oops.
I'm like, I'm a terrible co-host.
It's not like I tagged you 3 times in the Telegram group.
I know, but I don't have the notifications turned on because it always blows my phone up. So I turn them off, and then I fucking forget because I never check anything.
I had
'cause
to
I'm
fill
horrible.
in for you, Dan. This is not acceptable. I am
That's
not
all right.
enough to take
Well,
over.
they needed a vagina to balance it out. So you know what I mean. That's kind of the standard rule. So we
I
need
know.
at least one lady to keep it from going completely off the rails.
Have you met me? I'm not entirely sure I know.
Yeah, no, I was like questioning myself as I was saying it.
Yeah, she's a good replacement for Derica. Let's just
Yeah.
She's a wild one.
I could never replace my soulmate.
I told you she was going to do that as soon as she's here.
like this is like in pre-show. Andrew and I are talking, and Lindsay's talking about how I need to just come to the fact that I'm Lindsay's boyfriend now, and I don't have any say in the matter. And now she's already calling Derica her soulmate.
Hey, I've been calling Derica my soulmate for months.
Wow, that was the longest relationship I've had in a while.
No,
God.
you forget, honey. I'm Polly. You're still my boyfriend.
It could work that way.
So, Dan, we were talking about Chicago and their ticket scam. They have winter parking regulations.
Oh, of course.
They between December 1st and April 1st, between 3 a.m. and 7 a.m. There's no parking when there's over 2 inches of snow.
Really?
Right, and this is like on 100 and what is it? They say it's on 107 miles of street inside the city.
Wow.
And the first day, which was Saturday morning, they towed 264 vehicles.
Oh, of course. Yep.
There's a $150 fee, a $60 ticket, and a $20 storage fee at the storage facility. So right off the bat, $210 or $230 right off the bat.
Yeah, it's $2.262 million at minimum is what they made last year.
Yeah, and last year they towed 9,833 vehicles and made whatever Andrew just said $1 million on this parking scam. And to top it off, the overnight parking ban is separate from another snow-related ban that affects another 500 miles of roads when there are at least 2 inches of snow. So this parking ban that they enforce, this winter parking ban, has nothing to do with snow. So it's not like snow removal or anything like that. It's pure, straight up revenue generation.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's like the fucking dude that owns a window business. A window replacement business that goes around and knocks out fucking windows of local businesses and shit.
Wait, that can be a job professionally? I can knock out people's windows so that
not
legitimately.
No. The broken window.
Not a legitimate business.
Broken window fallacy. The broken window fallacy. That's what you're talking about.
We're breaking windows for a better tomorrow.
I understand, but I would really like that job if it were to ever come up.
It's the Krugman method. Talk to Paul.
Yeah.
he's not on the client. He's the president. No.
Fucking
yeah. So I got another really funny one we should bring up real quick because now Dan's here and I want to hear him laugh. St. Louis police officers indicted in beating of an undercover colleague.
Oh shit! That's fucking great.
A federal grand jury indicted 3 members of St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department on charges of beating a fellow police officer who was working undercover during a 2017 protest. A 4th officer was also indicted and accused of covering up the incident.
How did he think he was going to get away with that one? It was another cop.
Minority suspect. Minority suspect. No. We was a training op.
And Dan just dropped.
Oh, in and out.
The Department of Justice announced the indictments in a statement Thursday. Quote, the indictment charges officers Dustin Boone, 35, Bailey Coletta, 25, Randy Hayes, 31, and Christopher Myers, 27, with various felony charges, including deprivation of constitutional rights, conspiracy to obstruct justice, destruction of evidence, and obstruction of justice. According to the indictment, officers Boone, Hayes, and Myers inflicted, quote, bodily injury on an undercover officer identified in the court document as only as LH, an officer and detective who was described as having 22 years of experience in the police department.
All right. Sorry about that. My fucking phone cut out. All right. So they beat the shit out of an undercover colleague? What was he, like dealing drugs or something?
No. The federal grand jury indicted 3 members of the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department on charges of beating a fellow police officer who was working undercover during a 2017 protest.
Oh, shit.
A 4th officer was also indicted and accused of conspiring to cover up the incident.
Well, so, I mean, that also means that he was clearly probably there to be an agent provocateur.
Okay. Let's see. Blah, blah.
Exactly. That's what I was just going to say, too.
Yeah. According to the indictment, officers Boone, Hayes, and Myers inflicted, quote, bodily injury on the undercover officer identified in the court documents only as LH, an officer and detective who is described as having 22 years of experience with the police department. The beating of LH occurred, quote, while he was compliant and not posing a threat to anyone. The incident occurred during the September 17, 2017 protest against the acquittal of a white officer who was tried in the death of a black suspect in 2011.
Shit.
The indictment included what appears to be text messages among 3 officers before the protest in which they talk about their plans to beat protesters.
Huh. Of course.
Yes.
Yeah, well... I mean, and keep in mind too, like this guy he's only able to get them charged because he's also a member of their special little club.
Yes. All 4 officers were suspended without pay, according to the city officials. Each of the officers faces potential maximum penalties of at least 20 years in prison.
Whoa.
Yeah. The 4th officer.
So what? What, they get like a stiffer penalty for beating their own?
I don't know. The 4th officer, Bailey Coletta, is accused of aiding to cover up by lying to the grand jury investigating the incident. Coletta and Hayes were romantically involved at the time of the protest and during the federal investigation. So he tried to help get his partner off for beating up the undercover cop.
Wow.
Ignoring the fact that it's hilarious of all the people that they beat up.
Right?
Ignoring that, though, again, I mean, keep in mind, if you're that person, you're that protester, right, who's already protesting cops getting away with shit and murdering people, you're already doing that. If that's you and you're that average person, you don't get this kind of justice at all. You don't get them charged. Nothing happens to them.
Oh, no, not at all. Not at all. And this is like, they're not even, this isn't even a jury trial. This was a grand jury, right? Something like 90% of grand jury, or 90% of cases brought before a grand jury, get indicted, right? But then it goes on. If you're a police officer, there's like a 90% chance or something like that. But then if you go on to the actual trial, only like 5% of police that go to trial actually are actually found guilty.
Right, because all they got to do is show up and go, but I'm a cop.
Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly.
I feared for my life. They resisted arrest. Blah, 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 blah.
Well, not only that, but it's like built up in the minds of the public that they're like heroes. You know, so it's like it serves their purpose.
Great man fallacy, yeah.
Yeah.
They're so heroic that even when they do unheroic things, it's still heroic.
Well, I mean, you don't want to question them because then they might beat the shit out of you too. You know.
So, I mean, this is as like this is as funny as the article about Detroit. I think it was 2 or 3 months ago where undercover police officers tried to arrest undercover DEA agents?
Yeah.
I remember
at a drug bust or something like that.
Yep. It's like that spider. It's like that Spider-Man meme where he's like pointing at himself.
Yeah.
The drugs are everywhere. You guys are the only ones both selling and arresting people for that. Like, I feel like this is your own little ecosystem, and no one else is participating.
Right? And if they are participating, they're either controlled or busted.
Yeah. Go ask Free Ray Rick Ross about it.
Yeah.
No. I mean,
they co-opt the drug trade just like everything else.
Mm-hmm. What was the airport in Arkansas?
Mina?
Yeah, Mina Airport in Arkansas, where they flew all the drugs in that they were getting from the Paras and Central America under Reagan and Bush Sr.
Iran Contra.
Yep.
Yeah. Ding dong, that witch is dead.
Good times. Like my favorite meme to come out of that whole George Bush dying thing was it shows George Bush dying, and like the meme says it's a terrible shame when tyrants die of natural causes.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that is true.
Oh man, I wonder how long till they do the same tweet thing that they did with what's his face with the boy. It sure is hot down here.
McCain?
Yeah, they did. I saw some tweets about that, and I saw some pictures and tweets about it. But like when McCain died, there was a parody account. There was a parody account that popped up on Twitter, and it was like McCain talking about how hot it was in hell and who he was hanging out with, all this other stuff. Like, I hope someone does. I hope someone does a George Bush one.
Yeah, but see, the thing is chances are, though, that because remember, McCain was also unpopular with neocons.
With everyone.
But I mean,
everyone except the Defense Department.
Yeah,
right.
Which is ironic considering that he sold everybody out the moment that he had a chance. But like he was super unpopular. George Bush Sr., though, just like George W. Bush, is all but worshipped by the hardcore right. Like he was a World War II hero who smacked himself in the head really hard bailing out of his airplane once, and like he was. That is a hilarious story, by the way. If you've never heard that story about him bailing out of his airplane where he's going down and he forgot that you can't stand up too high because you'll get caught in the plane's slipstream.
Oh, Jesus.
And so he bails out of the airplane because he's been shot down. He's crashing. He bails out and he gets up too high and turns his body just in time to see the tail of his own airplane coming straight at his face.
Oh, man.
The side of his head ricochets off the tail of the airplane and he almost knocked unconscious on the way out of the plane.
Oh, man.
There's a really good article from Reason about how there's nothing for libertarians or for freedom-loving people, there's nothing for them to celebrate about George H.W. Bush and his legacy, which I agree with. There's nothing worth celebrating.
Why would there be, though?
I see, but as a comedian, I do have to point out that we should all celebrate the fact that Dan Quayle was in the White House at all in any capacity, because that was comedy gold.
Yeah, right.
So,
as a Californian, yeah.
Potato.
Yep. I remember hearing about that show when I was in like 3rd grade, and I'm like, how did the dude fucking spell potato wrong? Like,
well, and he was mystified when people corrected him. Like, what do you mean it doesn't have an E on the end? It doesn't have an E. There's no. Well, what do you mean? I don't understand.
Potatoes does. Potatoes has an E, but not potato.
Yeah, and that's why he was confused. Like, but I thought when you made it plural, you just added an S, and it's like Dan Quayle was like the proto creepy Uncle Joe, right? Yeah. Joe Biden, what Joe Biden became, that's what Dan Quayle was in the 90s.
Uncle Joe.
Yeah, creepy Uncle Joe. Everybody, he's oh, I miss those memes.
Me too, actually.
Hey, there's a chance. 2020. There's a chance of Biden running. He's
Holy
one of the front runners. And then Hillary Clinton is talking about running again also. So we could have a Trump, Sanders, Warren, Biden, Hillary Clinton debate.
Oh Christ!
That's like critical mass for the memeverse. Like,
Yeah, right.
Yep, that's what I'm looking forward to in 2020. I seriously hope that Biden runs and we have a Biden-Trump debate.
Oh my God, that would be glorious. I would DVR it just to go back months later for more. Like it'd be endless.
Like I can't stand political debates. Like they are so boring to me, and there's so much bullshit in line. And like back in my neocon days, I enjoyed them, but like as an anarchist, I can't stand them. But I would watch a Biden-Trump debate just for the meme material.
They would talk so much shit to each other, dude. It would be ridiculous.
I just see Trump standing there going, wrong, fake news, wrong.
He'd be going wrong, and meanwhile, Joe's not paying any attention, just like waving at a little girl in the audience the whole time, and smiling. Like
he's winking at the mediator.
I feel like political debates, even as an adult looking at them with adults running them, I feel like it's like the high school, I'm going to be the face of the students. I'm going to make sure that we have fruit punch every day at lunch.
Wow.
There's an episode of Rugrats where Angelica and what's her face try to get Tommy and Phil to run.
Yeah, that's
you know what I'm talking about? That was more truthful than most political debates.
Yeah,
right.
It's just, I mean, but it's true though, because I mean, that is essentially what Trump did, wasn't it? Like, he was like, I'm going to make sure that there is free soda at every lunch, is essentially the promise that he gave to get elected. And I mean, at least
that's literally the translation of "Make America Great Again."
Yeah, it's free soda at lunch. It's just...
Well, I'd say that was more of the Bernie Sanders platform, but
oh no, Bernie was recess for every class.
free degrees.
Yeah, it's just
oh, and that's the other one. I totally forgot it. It slipped my mind for some reason. The other one, the other big Democrat that they're talking about running is Kamala Harris.
Wait, is she the one? No.
She's the one from California.
From California, yeah.
Oh my God, her? Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to see.
Retarded.
I will watch. That happens. I will watch the DNC debates because her and Joe and Warren and Clinton arguing is going to be one of the most tear-inducing moments of the 21st century. It is going to be so funny and tragic simultaneously.
I wonder if they're going to hide the server this time when they make Hillary the fucking nominee again.
Oh, I think they've learned a lesson there. And that lesson is don't let Hillary anywhere near any computers ever.
Right? Yeah, she's got to make it to the debate first.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, can't we also just add in Sarah Palin?
Just bring Palin back just for the sake of, like, where they're just like
busy keeping an eye on Russia.
Palin and Biden debating
from her
gun
front
rights.
porch.
Palin and Biden debating gun rights.
Just buy a shotgun. Yeah.
They start making out, talking about the 870.
Thank you for that picture.
She's too old for him.
Actually, it's kind of.
She's way too old for him.
Yeah, exactly. Even her daughter is way too old.
Yeah, for real.
She's got grandkids though.
Oh,
well, the grandkids.
That's fucking terrible.
Age for that piece of crap. Yeah.
Who was the other? There was someone else that they were trying to push. Beto, the guy that just lost.
Oh my God, really?
Lost in Texas to Zodiac, Ted Cruz.
Oh no,
O'Rourke. O'Rourke or whatever the fuck his last name is.
Yeah, Beto O'Rourke. Yeah.
Isn't he a socialist?
He's damn near. He's right on the cusp of it.
Oh yeah.
I mean the
left.
Democratic Party is like pretty much like openly socialist now.
Pretty much. All the front runners are. I mean, not even. I wouldn't say all the front runners are, because I don't think Hillary's a socialist. I think she is a big government pro-war Democrat. Yeah. She's definitely liberal. I don't think she's socialist.
She's like neoliberal.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, and being from Wisconsin, I'm hesitant to say that McCarthy might not have been completely wrong about things.
He wasn't.
McCarthy might not have been completely wrong about things.
No, the Justice Department was totally infiltrated by communists. Still is.
Everything's. I mean, and that we're seeing that come to fruition now.
Conservatism is infected with communism.
It's
neocons were originally Trotskyites. Like, what's his name there? Irving. Irving Kristol.
Brett says that Beto is Obama light.
Yeah.
What's up, Brett? Brett Goo or Go Gough. You guys know him from
Goff. His last name is Goff. It's just spelt different.
So, I mean, like, if you think about it, though, all the candidates are socialists. They're just like different fucking variants of socialism. Because essentially, like Hoppy said, he said you can't have socialism without the state, because the state has to institute the redistribution of wealth. You can't do that like amongst people.
Well,
unless
that's why I
said have some force of some nature.
Like that's what I was talking about. Even conservatism, republicanism, neoconservatism, strict conservatism, religious conservatism. Like even all of those have aspects of socialism in them. Like people talk about the left, right? No, it's left and left light.
Oh, you really want to see somebody on the political right in America. You want to watch their heads explode. Call police and the military socialized police and military, which is accurate as hell.
Yeah.
But you call it that. Watch their heads as they try to justify.
Oh my God. Speaking of heads exploding, did you you and I talked about that piece from Ammon Bundy, where he talked about the immigration issue, the border issue, like totally the complete opposite of literally every conservative out there, and the opposite of Trump, and people are calling him like a turncoat and all this other shit, and saying, oh, he's so brave because didn't Trump pardon you, blah blah blah. Like he should have some loyalty to Trump because Trump pardoned him.
Yeah,
like, and just I posted it on Wolf. I posted the article and I did my little piece on it about
check it out.
I said that Ammon was very logically consistent on his views of the Constitution. Absolutely is. Like his view is very lined up with his views on the Constitution. And people lost their fucking minds.
Yep. Oh yeah, and that's super predictable. It's because they have to toe this party line, this very specific. This is what I'm told. I have to think. This is what I'm told. This is how I feel like I need to think. They're told this. And so the moment that somebody thinks logically and consistently, regardless of what the party wants to tell them, all of a sudden they're like, "Oh, you're aligning yourself with them," and just
it becomes a very with us or against us mentality.
And the funny thing is
how it is.
Oh yeah, and they completely ignore, especially in the political right, they totally ignore the fact that what they're saying sounds an awful lot like, comrade, you are sounding very antisocial and counter-revolutionary. Like, they're ignoring the fact that that's what they're doing.
Like, and it's the complete.
Why don't you leave the union, comrade?
Yeah, it's the complete same thing. It's the complete same thing as when the left attacked people like Eric July.
Yeah,
right? Because he's black.
Yeah.
Right. So he should be with them. And
Oh, you can't be a minority and not be liberal.
If you're
It's like,
if you're a minority and not
pariah.
liberal, then you're Uncle Tom and
dude.
you're a house slave and all this other stuff.
It's so crazy, but it's so like it's so opposite of what reality is, because they keep minorities on a mental plantation in terms of like the liberal camp. You know
it's like the myth of the party.
Susan G. Komen, right? The Planned Parenthood lady.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like she had super racist comments about population control and
Margaret Sanger.
Margaret Sanger. Yeah.
Sanger was like, that's the whole reason why she wanted abortion to be legal, was to try and keep them Negroes in their place.
Yeah,
like that was the whole reason she pushed that.
Well, I mean, look at the abortion rate amongst minorities. It's like way disproportionate to like everybody else.
Yeah, and it is, and it's
crazy,
fun, really sad, but
it is. It's like a fucking genocide almost.
Yeah, they literally defend a organization that was created to limit them.
Yeah.
To oppress them, to kill, to mass murder them.
Well, yeah, Sanger was a huge proponent of what was with the face and the you're predisposed to be a criminal, blah blah. What is that called?
Eugenics.
Eugenics. She was a huge fan of eugenics and a huge proponent of it. This idea that she agreed, and not an exaggeration, agreed with Hitler that there was a master race, that this master race was Caucasian and probably Northern European. And so therefore anyone who's not that, let's just try and wipe them out, and we'll mask it as, but this is more convenient for you. See, isn't this nicer that you can do this, because you need to have your consequence-free actions because you're not smart enough to make good decisions. So we're just going to go ahead and take care of this for you and see, aren't we wonderful masters?
Now check this out, right? Not that I'm like a religious person, but you take God out of the scenario, or like a spiritual aspect out of the scenario, and replace that with something like evolution, like Darwinism, right? Which allows for social Darwinism, which allows for eugenics. Because, in that sense, it's like social Darwinism's like, okay, well, we're superior to you because, you're a lesser. It's like almost, well, I mean, like that's the elites have a social Darwinist mentality in terms of like looking at us like we're useless eaters. You know what I mean? And like they're a totally different, separate species altogether.
Well, they clearly believe that based on the way they like to use us.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Cannon fodder.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, especially the military, man. They will use us up. They will completely brutalize us all day, every day, endlessly, and then bring us home with a bunch of promises that they're going to take care of us, and then not take care of us. And then the moment that we object and we say, hey, wait a minute, that wasn't fair. Like, you promised me all this crap. Like, what are you doing? Then, now you're an enemy of the state.
Yep. Like anybody that believes that the government actually cares about veterans, go visit a VA.
Oh yeah, totally. I used to go with my dad all the time. It was fucking
don't go to the Toma one at least.
Yeah, definitely.
You might possibly get HIV.
Yeah, they infected a bunch of people.
What?
The Toma VA, and that was national news that happened. They weren't sanitizing any of their tools because they decided that it was just too expensive in government. So it was just too expensive. So they weren't going to sanitize their tools. A bunch of their tools got infected with HIV.
Wow.
And they didn't, sterilize any of them. So then they gave a ton of veterans HIV. And that happened at the VA hospital that's a 45-minute drive from us in Toma.
And guess what that is? That's socialized medicine.
Yep, that's socialized medicine. I read that story up every time when people are like, we need universal health care. Dude, the government can't handle health care for something like, 1% of the population, less than 1% of the population? And they can't handle health care for that. You think that they're going to manage yours better?
My brother Nick, he was in Iraq and he spent some time in Fallujah and Ramadi. And he has some injuries from an IAD blast, and he had to have a screw come loose in his knee, and he went to the doctor, and the doctor's like, "Oh yeah, we'll set you up for surgery. We'll get that fixed." 6 months later, he's in the hospital with an infection that they had to put a stent into his heart to deliver antibiotics directly into his heart because it took that long for them to get him in there to get his knee looked at.
Oh yeah, and that's how government works. That's how government works, is because government can't predict, and this is the core of it, is government can't predict scarcity. Government can't control scarcity. They are not immune to supply and demand. Healthcare is not immune to supply and demand. So if you have an enormous demand and a minimal supply, one of two things is going to happen. Either the market is going to take over, and because demand has outstripped supply, it's going to become very, very expensive, which is what we see in the world of healthcare when it's left to its own devices. Or if you try to artificially keep the price down, now quality needs to come way, way down to keep the cost down despite the increase of demand versus supply. And people who are super into socialized medicine don't seem to understand. Like they think, oh, but it's
there are reports of women in Canada giving birth in waiting rooms and in the ambulances in the parking lot. There are people dying in the ER waiting rooms in Canada.
Well, yeah,
because it's first come, first serve.
There was that guy like a couple of years ago in Canada who had died 2 days prior in the waiting room. No one had even checked on him in 2 days, and then they figured out that he was dead because he fell over or something, and they realized that he'd been dead for 2 days.
Well, what's more responsive to demand in terms of flexibility and maneuverability? I would say the fucking market, allowed to compete and innovate. You know what I mean? Would be way more flexible and way more, responsive to demand than, a monopolistic control with no fucking competition or no demand to do better. You know what I mean?
But the government getting out of the way on a single issue, on one issue, if the government were to get out of the way on one issue, the free market would flourish in regards to that issue.
Totally.
And it would infect.
It would set it. It would set an example.
It would infect the mentality of everyone else regarding other issues. So the government cannot allow a free market in any issue without completely degrading its support base.
Yeah, because people would be like, well, wait, we don't need them?
Yeah, but wait a minute. Once they got out of the way, we're all doing better.
This doesn't make any sense.
No.
Yep.
I just figured if we just kept throwing government at the problems, that it would eventually work.
Yeah.
Speaking of government, what democracy? 70% of not free countries get U.S. military aid.
There's that socialized military again.
Yeah, Washington has a habit of bombing defenseless nations in the name of democracy, but isn't the least bit squeamish about selling weapons and giving military aid to countries its own human rights watchdogs deem dictatorial. Freedom House, a U.S.-based non-governmental organization set up in 1941, publishes an annual Freedom in the World report, which categorizes countries as either free, partly free, or not free. Funded almost entirely by the U.S. government, Freedom House considers the U.S. and its allies free, while it designates enemy countries such as Russia and China not free. The group's 2018 report described 2.7 billion people living in 49 countries as tragically not free. Yet of those 49 countries, at least 35, or 71%, have either been customers of the U.S. military-industrial complex or received some form of military assistance from the Pentagon over the previous 3 years. Yeah.
That's not surprising though, because it's who's going to use weapons more, a fucking dictator or a peaceful nation?
Well, and look at the history. Look at the history of American military aid and intervention, right? Who have in the 20th century? Who are some of our big ones, right? Cuba. And look at how that all worked out.
Yeah.
Japan, and take a look at how that worked out long term. They were our closest allies.
Well, because Mossadegh fucking nationalized the oil supply and cut BP out of the picture, or it was British Petroleum at the time, right? Or did they change to British Petroleum anyway? It was British based. and the CIA deposed him and put in the Shah.
Yep.
And then had the Iranian Revolution, and now we're at where we are now with the mullahs. So
12 of those countries are so awful, according to Freedom House, that they have been dubbed, quote, the worst of the worst. Yet half of them, Saudi Arabia, Somalia, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, Central African Republic, and Libya, are ongoing recipient of U.S. military aid. Sure, Somalia has been ravaged by civil war, terrorism, and clan strife since 1991, but the U.S. keeps propping up the current central government, providing military assistance as well as, quote, make Somalia great again hats. There's a picture of a guy with a make Somalia great again hat.
Yo,
I want that fucking hat so bad I can't even describe.
Yeah.
Oh my
dude,
God.
we gotta get some.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
the Central African Republic has been gripped by civil war between Christians and Muslims since 2012 and has a paltry 9 out of 100 Freedom House ranking.
That's fucking fantastic.
I have to look again.
Oh, I'm trying to figure out. You mentioned the Central African Republic. I'm trying to figure out what the hell that used to be.
Well, like the Congo and shit.
No, because Congo is still Congo.
Zazzle has them.
Yes.
Nice.
No, Congo is still Congo. What the hell is Central African Republic? When did this exist? Like,
U.S. ambassador U.S. ambassador gives make Somalia great cap to Somali president. East African nation, one of the 7 Muslim countries which Donald Trump trying to ban citizens from entering America. That's an article from February 20th, 2017. Yeah. Make Somalia great again.
I freaking need a hat so bad.
Right.
I found them on Amazon for $21.
Nice.
Yes.
That's it.
You know how much? I mean, if he actually gave them to people in Somalia, like every single one of them would trade them for a chicken.
Probably.
That would be us overpaying, as far as I just want to point out. So I'm thinking the exchange rate's looking pretty damn good right now. Yeah. Now, apparently, Central African Republic, just so you guys know, apparently has actually like existed since like 1960.
What?
Yeah, what is
this? What is
I've
this
been
like?
to
Some
Africa, and
Mandela effect shit.
I don't remember. It's that goddamn weasel, the CERN weasel, that son of a bitch. Knocking us onto a new timeline. Apparently, it's always been there. I mean, like I always call Zimbabwe. I still call Zimbabwe Rhodesia because fuck Zimbabwe. But it's Rhodesia, and it will always be Rhodesia, and everyone else can bite me. And I know it's not going to make me a lot of friends, but I don't care.
You don't have.
It's racist, man.
It's about not liking communism.
No, I know.
But I mean, but it's I mean, consider what some of these countries are, in particular, Saudi Arabia. And actually, when I mentioned Cuba and Iran, I was going to go to Saudi Arabia next. It's like, look at 21st century. Saudi Arabia, one of our biggest countries that we provide military aid to, and they just straight up murdered a journalist. Like,
yeah.
And instead of going, okay, really, that was fucking awful. No more. Our government has, under Trump, who all of these pro-military, anti-Muslim.
It was one of the White House staff members or something like that said that he wouldn't look at he wouldn't watch the video of the Saudi Arabian president or Saudi Arabian whatever he is talking about the murder because he doesn't speak Arabic. Or something like that. Like he doesn't speak the same language, so he won't watch the video.
Dude, I watch French documentaries all the time. Screw you. Like I barely.
Those are porn.
Yeah. They actually do make some incredible documentaries about tanks.
I was really concerned you were going to say they make some really great porn.
So,
I've never seen.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Here's one. Libya is another case worth highlighting. In 2010, the North African nation was declared a high human development country by the United Nations, ranking 53rd out of 162 countries surveyed. The very next year, however, this is after the U.S. went in and Gaddafi and Hillary Clinton. And the very next year, however, the country's government was overthrown by a U.S. and NATO-backed rebels 7 years after being bombed into a moon crater and left to the tender mercies of warlords, tribal militias, and even the Islamic State. Libya has dropped to 108th in the UN ranking and has a 9 out of 100 score on the Freedom House Index and open-air slave markets.
Yep.
On the other hand, the officially recognized government receives U.S. military aid.
Yeah, and in Libya, had a chance, man. It had a shot. It did. It did before the U.S. got involved. It had a shot at becoming something so much better, especially considering that the Libyan desert is like the butthole of planet Earth. But
Gaddafi had invested I don't know, it was like $6.5 billion or something like that in a waterworks project to essentially make the desert fertile, so they could grow fruit and grain and all that shit there. And that was one of the first things.
And they tried to have a gold-backed currency.
Well, yeah, that too. But they did the waterworks project independent from a loan from the IMF or anybody.
Oh.
Well, and don't get me wrong. Like Gaddafi, I'm not going to say that he was mentally stable or a good leader or not a fucking murderer and a psychopath, but
he did stabilize the region.
He stabilized things. He was, and for the most part, while he was
it's like Saddam, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, Saddam was U.S. backed, and Gaddafi, at least, when he took over, initially, anyway, he really did benefit the country a lot. And even when he was losing his mind, I don't think that he necessarily meant to be the psychopath that he was, even when he was sponsoring terrorism. And he, there was a point where Libya was the biggest sponsor of international terrorism there was. Now that's Saudi Arabia, one of our close little bosom buddies.
Actually, I was just about to talk about Saudi Arabia.
Oh,
don't forget about Israel.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Come on now. Come on. Not even RT is going to criticize Israel.
I don't
they
feel
just,
like
they just bombed Gaza, and the IDF bragged about killing 20 Gazan children the other day.
Yep. So,
but we gave them the most military aid of all.
$3 billion a year in U.S. financial aid.
Well, what was it? I think it was $38 billion package, 10-year package that Rand Paul was going to filibuster.
Yeah, he was.
And I'm this guy's got some balls.
All right, so Saudi Arabia, interest over moralizing. One of the worst ranking countries on the Freedom House Index is Saudi Arabia, with only 7 out of 100 on the index, far below Washington's favorite villains: Venezuela 26, Russia 20, China 14, and even Iran 17, but not below North Korea at 3.
I mean, and Iran is the one that gets all of the publicity because you can't dance publicly and women can't have their heads uncovered and shit. But they ignore the fact that most of the laws that Iran has, Saudi Arabia also fucking has.
Yeah,
but I'd say that Iran's way more moderate than Saudi Arabia in terms of what I've seen in documentaries and stuff. It's not like they're walking around in the garbage bag suits like in Saudi Arabia. At least, women have some semblance of normalcy there. They can wear Western clothing. They just have to have their head covered.
Yeah. Right, and that's because remember when even with the radical revolution in Iran, they were coming from such a Western-ish ecumenical perspective already that it seemed really extreme, but it actually was what we would consider now fairly moderate.
Yeah.
All right,
well, I mean, that's like Afghanistan in the 70s. They were kind of westernized. They had if you look at any of the pictures before the Soviet Union went in there, it was before the Taliban and all those guys took over, backed by the United States. It was pretty westernized, and the women weren't wearing
well, and the Kurds never got our help, and they're still like that.
Yeah. Let me get through these few paragraphs real quick on Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia 7 out of 100. So, as the State Department put it last month, however, the Saudi Kingdom Saudi Kingdom is the U.S. quote largest foreign military sales customer with over $114 billion in active cases. Foggy Bottom expects, quote, a significant increase in foreign military sales due to the $110 billion agreement to modernize the Saudi armed forces signed in May 2017 by U.S. President Donald Trump and King Solomon. Blah, 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 blah. So far, 14.5 million sales have been implemented under the initiative. Despite ongoing calls for sanctions over the murder of the journalist Jamal blah, blah, in October, the Trump administration has been reluctant to interfere in the weapons sales. That has not stopped Germany from halting weapons deliveries to Saudi Arabia, citing the journalist's death. Saudi Arabia was Berlin's second best customer after Algeria, with an estimate $475 million worth of contracts just this year. Norway and Spain have also canceled Saudi Arabian armed contracts, but France, which has ongoing deals worth almost $12 billion, is so far refusing to follow suit.
Oh well, don't forget France sold Saddam Kari. So
France is corrupt as hell. Like, people forget about them.
I mean, even that, and that was the late 80s, early 90s that they gave and built and designed Kari, the air defense system for Saddam. Like, that was all but a gift. They sold it so cheap to them. But I mean, don't forget, Saudi Arabia, and a lot of people forget this, Saudi Arabia is called Saudi Arabia because of the Sauds, and the only reason it exists is not anything natural. It exists because of the Sykes-Picot Agreement. It exists because of England and who?
Yeah, exactly.
France. That's why it exists. And that's it, because they made the Sauds the kings for their help throwing off the Ottoman Turks.
Yeah, exactly. They were a Bedouin tribe that they put in fucking power.
Right, and they had no power before, and no one looked up.
Not at all.
No one respected them. They just made the right friends. Yep. And now they're in charge of an entire nation that's arguably one of the richest nations on the face of planet Earth. And we're sending how much? I mean, and they were already hyper Islamic. I mean, even back then for the Ottoman Empire, they were hyper Islamic.
Yeah.
And then we made them in charge. And look at what we've done over and over and over again until the past 50 years. We have backed less than that. The past 20 years is when it changed, where we stopped backing the most Islamically extreme elements in the Middle East. Like, that's it.
And people are wondering why we have terrorism now.
Yeah, what happened? I don't know. Maybe
they hate us for our freedoms.
Yeah.
I just
let's not.
There's a joke somewhere in the fact that
it's all one big joke.
Yeah,
but the Germans have been upset enough about this murder to stop backing these people. The people that
the Germans
massacred 6 million Jews.
The Germans, who historically have been so cooperative with their neighbors and things, they're the ones who are like, hey, you guys are going a little far here. I know.
You can't forget about the fact that Saudi Arabia has been waging war on Yemen. And that's been continuous for years now.
Oh,
probably
yeah.
4 or 5 years.
Yemen is a genocide right now.
Oh, totally. I mean, there's a cholera epidemic right now that's going on that's absolutely ridiculous. As they said, it's probably the worst in history.
Yep. But they
you don't hear a damn thing about that.
Price, blah, 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 blah.
Of course.
Never mind that the U.S. is producing so much fucking oil that it's
exporting.
Yeah.
And you look at that, right? Speaking of that, and I did want to bring this up tonight, actually, and that works out very well for that little thing. Look at what happened. So, journalist gets killed. A lot of people, even hyper conservatives that want to support Trump and everything else, are still upset that we're still supporting Saudi Arabia after what happened with that journalist. And everyone's talking about we need to cut off Saudi Arabia. We need to stop being friends with them, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden, magically, and in a completely unrelated note, gas drops
prices drop
a gallon, and everyone goes, "Oh, well, yeah, I guess they're not so bad." You're really that cheap?
Batman kneeled to our national anthem. Let's discuss that again.
Yeah. You're really that cheap, America? You're really so selfish and cheap and easily bought that your morals can be purchased at the price of $1 per gallon of gasoline.
Yes.
And
France,
you know what?
In France right now, like the riots going on in France, like those are over 4 cents a liter tax increase.
Well, actually, I mean, that's like kind of the straw that broke the camel's back, but it has a lot to do with like they're like real high income tax, and it's just like a kind of a compounding of a lot of issues.
But the last straw was
the gas tax.
16 cents on a gallon. It's not even 16 cents.
Well, they said
but
equivalent to US dollars, it's like $7.50 a gallon.
Because they price per liter, not per gallon over there.
Yep.
Weirdos in their metric system that's actually
right,
and makes like a goddamn sense.
Making everything divisible by 10.
I mean, right.
Like, come on now. We got walnuts and we got the king's foot. God. It sounds a lot more impressive to say your penis is 22 centimeters. Rather than just like a single digit number in inches, I'm just saying.
Less than 1 inch, actually.
I feel like we've had this conversation before.
Yeah. Yeah, that's that would be.
Derica would have loved that joke.
That's like that. I just want to
been dying.
Anyone who's wondering what
22 centimeters is like almost 10 inches.
Yeah.
Right, but like, well, what I was saying,
2.5 centimeters is an inch, right?
Yeah, I thought you said 22 millimeters.
Yeah,
Never mind.
2.5.
I was going to say
22 millimeters.
Hey, this isn't mainland China, okay? This is America.
That's some shit that'll have you sitting at the fucking little kids table.
You sit over there. You're kind.
That's not even true. I've seen some babies with bigger ones than that.
Oh man,
penis so small it has Uncle Joe hitting on you.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
It's an extra belly.
That's terrible.
Horrible.
Is it right?
Okay. Couple forced to prove New Mexico is a state while applying for marriage license.
What?
New Mexico? I ain't never heard of that. Is that like just supposed to be cleaner than the old one?
I could understand like Delaware, because like I don't know if Delaware even exists, like kind of like Australia, but
I don't think it does. I think it's a myth. Actually, you know what? You know what is a myth? Rhode Island is a myth.
I've been there though.
Yeah.
Oh, you say that, but do you?
I say that.
But I've been to Delaware. That doesn't mean nothing.
But I don't know, like Delaware, like who? I don't know what happens in Delaware.
Has anybody actually seen Idaho? I'm just asking.
Yeah,
that's a good question.
Does it exist?
All right.
I don't know anyone that lives there. I've never met anyone from there.
Yeah. Okay. Gavin Clarkson, a recent candidate for New Mexico Secretary of State, experienced a once in our 50 states is missing. Sorry. Gavin Clarkson, a recent candidate for New Mexico Secretary of State, experienced a one of our 50 states is missing moment earlier this month when applying for a marriage license in the nation's capital. Clarkson, who lives in Las Cruces, and his then fiance visited the District of Columbia Court's Marriage Bureau on November 20th to apply for a marriage license. But once there, the couple encountered a small problem, Clarkson said. The clerk wouldn't accept Clarkson's driver's license from New Mexico as proof of his identity. Rather, the clerk, who mistakenly believed Clarkson was a foreign citizen, said he would have to provide an international passport to get a marriage license. After Clarkson objected, the clerk went to check with a supervisor who confirmed Clarkson would need a passport.
Dude, my theory on this is that fucking Trump has rejected New Mexico because he's like, well, we're trying to get rid of the old Mexicans. We don't need any new ones.
We don't need any new ones.
Hold on. Quote. Okay, this is quote. Right? Quote. You know you are from a flyover country when you are applying for a marriage license, give them your New Mexico driver's license, and they come back and say, my supervisor says we cannot accept international driver's licenses. Do you have a New Mexico passport?
If anyone's
independent
confused,
nation.
that's where New Mexico is. Okay, that's New Mexico.
Oh, speaking to the Sun News about the incident, Clarkson said the clerk went back to check a second time about whether she could accept a New Mexico driver's license as proof of identity. After the staff finally concluded New Mexico was in fact a U.S. state and accepted his driver's license along with the application.
Holy fuck. They had to run it through bureaucracy first.
Oh, like the supervisor.
My supervisor.
Oh.
Yeah.
You can't manage that one on your own.
Dude, and I mean, and think about, like, I can understand, even in a non-government job, I can understand one person being an idiot.
Wait, hold that thought. Clarkson, who has called New Mexico home since 2012, said he heard about the state's residents experienced such incidents in the past, but it was the first time it happened to me. Quote, she thought New Mexico was a foreign country, he said to the clerk. All the couples behind us waiting in line were laughing. Hold that. Clarkson's wife, Mariana, immigrated from Argentina in the 1990s, became a legal permanent resident, and then a naturalized U.S. citizen. She speaks English fluently, though she has a slight accent. But the clerk complimented Clarkson, not Mariana, on how well he spoke the language.
Gosh, you sound like you could be from the United States.
He said his wife was in disbelief, wondering, quote, why are you complimenting him on his English?
Pero por qué? No entiendo.
Your English is impeccable. Being from New Mexico.
New Mexico, cleaner than the old one.
I mean, to be fair, like, I worked for a national cell phone company. I won't say which one, but we used to get calls all the time going, well, I'm going to Alaska. Do I have to have a different plan? Well, no, I mean, you're covered while you're in the United States. Well, I mean, it's a different country, so don't I need a different...
See, but that's the thing. That's the thing, though, is Alaska and Hawaii are the two that are the most recent becoming states in the past 60 years, 70?
Okay, yes,
something like that.
I never spoke to anybody over the age of 70.
Yeah, 60. New Mexico has been a state since before World War I.
Yeah.
So,
notably, Clarkson is also an enrolled member of the Choctaw Nation. If he had showed that ID to the marriage bureau, he said, it would have been cleared up the confusion over his identity.
So I'm trying to find. Okay, this should work. So a New Mexico driver's license says New Mexico across the top. It looks like every other driver's license I've ever seen for every other state, pretty much. Like, I'm not seeing where this looks out of the ordinary for the average person. Like, this looks like
it looks like a normal U.S. driver's license. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's written in English. Like that should have been clue number one.
Gosh, your English driver's license and the fact that you speak English so well is not at all. You might not be from Mexico. Are they under the impression that, like, when you go through the states of Mexico, that you have like Tijuana here and Chihuahua and New Mexico? Like they ran out of names for the rest of the states, and then they're like, I don't know, this is new, so but it's Mexico now. Like, what are you, fucking Pancho Villa, that you're refusing to admit that New Mexico is...
I mean, it's not like New Mexico wasn't recently in the news or anything with that the Somali residents were out in that little camp. You know, they killed the little boy.
Yeah, but that was in a foreign country.
Why did we?
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
true. That was in a foreign country, so nobody cares.
Well, that's why. See, that's why they could do that, and that's why the American military had to intervene, is because it was a foreign nation.
I was gonna say, I wonder if they were extradited.
Clearly.
I wonder if they were extradited to the United States.
See, and that's why Coke.
They look like they
Coke,
can some freedom.
That's why Kokesh will never be president. Because he's from Mexico.
He's a foreign agent.
He's a foreign agent. Yeah.
How do you not?
Literally Putin.
He's a spy from New Mexico.
Yeah.
Actually, what's funny though is I watched a stand-up comedian who's from Idaho, talking about having moved to New York City, and the fact that he'll tell people that he's from Idaho.
Talk about culture shock.
Yeah, but he'll talk about the fact that he's from Well, he is also the one who's like, everybody in New York goes, I don't understand who these Trump voters are. Oh, I'm from Idaho. I know. I know who they are. But anyway, so he was talking about the fact that he'll tell people he's from Idaho, and like they don't believe him that it's a real place. Like he's from Narnia. Like it is the most bizarre thing. He's like, they don't believe me that it exists. Like I will show them on the map, and I'll be like, it looks like a shoe. Like sitting. No recollection. This is a thing at all.
We should. That's what we should do. We should move to New Mexico, take it over, and then we can receive U.S. foreign military aid.
Declare it an independent nation,
right? A dictatorship. They're bound to give us weapons.
Yeah. Oh no, we're allies of Israel and radical Muslims.
That's right.
You're gonna have no choice but to give us military aid now.
It sounds an awful lot like ISIS.
Yeah. Hey, look at that.
Oh my God.
We'll rename it the International Society of Independent Scientists, or if you will, ISIS. And immediately we'll be like, no, I'm a representative of ISIS. And they'll just hand us things, missile launchers, tanks.
Yep.
We'll promise.
Well, those were meant for the moderate rebels, though.
Yeah, no, we're the moderates. We're the moderates. You don't want to see the extreme guys, because those guys, they like run taco trucks. They have like, it's terrible, man. They have this thing, right? You have the Tomahawk missile. They have the Trinidad Scorpion, and you want nothing to do with that, my friend. Nothing to do.
Oh God. Fucking people.
They even have, they have the dreaded Carolina Reaper and the jalapeno. I mean, that's we need to give them huge supplies.
And people say we need to keep funding public schooling.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm in public school, and I'm mostly smart.
And you know New Mexico's a state, so I mean,
yeah, hey, there's that.
It was a small town school, so I'm sorry.
Well, you're like already on the presidential board of when we take over New Mexico. Then
I'm not.
Yeah, you're gonna be part of the presidential cabinet.
But see, I'm not.
You mean dictatorial inter party?
Oh no, he's president. He's been democratically elected. He'll get reelected only because there's only
democratically
on the ballot.
Yeah, exactly. I was just
literally vote or die. Yeah, literally
vote or die. Yeah, can you imagine that ad on TV? Vote or die, and then it fades, and then no, I'm fucking
with like a firing squad at the voting booth.
Armed men will come to your house and kill you. And
it's okay if I win the presidency. I will make sure all women will have at least triple D breasts for every man.
Excellent.
That's a lot of boobs.
Yeah. And
you don't mean per woman.
Well, actually, no, I don't need that much. That's actually too much for me.
Well, then I can't talk to you anymore. I'm sorry, but I'm far too large for you.
That's true.
Yes, it is.
Oh, well, all right. So
I have no way to follow that up.
Right.
I'm just lost.
It'll be the United People's Republic of New Mexico. The Democratic
You gotta put the Democratic.
United People's
The
Republic.
Democratic Utilitarian People's Republic of Mexico.
And we'll hold Freedom Fest every year for our independence. It'll be called Freedom Fest. Attendance is mandatory. Singing the national anthem is mandatory.
Instead of bread lines,
yeah, the national anthem is "Sickness" from from I can't remember. Yeah,
it'll be Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody. That's the national anthem right there.
Instead of bread lines, we have tortilla lines.
Yeah, you know what's funny?
Carne asada in every pot.
I propose carne. Oh, we will wait more on Taco Bell. Let me tell you,
Corona just became our national drink.
We're gonna go because we really want to encourage American intervention. Baja Blast.
That works.
Mountain Dew's Baja Blast. That's. It's authentic Mexican. What do you want? It's
okay.
We're restricting all imports of Baja Blast into the United States until our demands are met.
I grew up in New Mexico. Hey, you want to name foreigners? Good Lord.
Yeah. All right. Well, while we're on the subject of government failings, government police fail to make arrest in nearly half of murder cases.
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah.
Well,
don't tell me that.
At least it's not an important crime.
It's like I got a 50-50 chance of getting away with this.
I mean, that's how I'm reading this.
Yeah. Police departments in a number of U.S. cities, Chicago, Detroit, New Orleans, are receiving increased attention for their failure to clear even half of the homicides that occur in their jurisdiction. And note that to, quote, clear a case doesn't even necessarily require someone to be convicted of the crime, but only that either an arrest or that the case or arrest was made or that the case was, quote, cleared by exceptional means, meaning the police identified a suspect, had sufficient evidence to arrest or knew the location, but encountered a circumstance that prevented them from making an arrest.
So, like, for instance, diplomatic immunity, lethal weapon, or like they're dead or something.
Yes. Yeah.
They can't even figure out, no matter how long they're given, that half of their murder suspects are dead.
Well, they're too busy arresting people for parking between 3 and 7 a.m.
Yeah, they're like,
right.
Hey, we got to worry about the real dangerous people, all right? Not the ones that are going out killing people. The ones who are leaving their cars.
Well, if you remember, like in the U.S. last year, there was more arrests made for drug charges than there were for all aggravated crimes combined.
Well, of course, because then they put themselves in the line of danger.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't want to arrest a murderer. I mean, that guy's dangerous.
Exactly.
But the stoned college student, like, that guy's just chilling out on the couch.
He posed absolutely no threat whatsoever.
But I will beat the shit out of him.
Yeah, exactly.
So I had to mention that to piggyback on, or to piggyback this article on it, right? So they're not even solving half the crimes, half the murders in those cities, right? You guys remember we discussed this before. The police chief in Florida that sent those innocent kids to jail so that he could have a 100% success or 100% solve rate on burglaries and break-ins and whatnot. Well, he was fired, and he was arrested and fired, right? And now he is going to prison.
No shit.
For a total of 3 years.
Huh.
He destroyed, 3 people's lives?
Yeah.
Several people's lives.
Several. So we don't even know the exact number, or I mean, so we don't even know the exact number, but he destroyed their fucking lives forever.
Yeah.
Here's 3 years.
Yeah. Raimundo Atizano, Atesiano, Atizano. Raimundo Atizano, the former Biscayne Park police chief who directed his officers to frame innocent black men for a series of unsolved burglaries, admitted he wanted to appease community leaders and polish the village's property crimes record. Even in a small village of 3,000 residents, the pressure was too much, he said. Quote, when I took the job, I was not prepared, Atismo told a federal judge on Tuesday. Quote, I made some very, very bad decisions. His apologies did not sway U.S. District Judge K. Michael Moore, who on Tuesday sentenced the 53-year-old former cop to 3 years in prison. He allowed Atismo to remain free two more weeks before surrendering so he can take care of his mother, who is dying of leukemia. In September, Atizano pleaded guilty to a conspiracy charge of depriving the 3 suspects of their civil rights because he and the officers charged them without legal basis. Tino's conspiracy conviction carried up to 10 years in prison.
Is anything happening to any of the cops who obeyed his orders?
Yeah, actually, Atismo resigned from the Biscayne Park Force in 2014 and previously worked as an officer in Sunny Isle Beach. Okay. Atisno's sentencing ended an ugly chapter in Biscayne Park's recent history with allegations of racism. The three men falsely charged are black, tainted the police department's culture of law enforcement in the mostly white community. Yeah, blah blah blah. Over the summer, 3 former Biscayne Park police officials who worked under Atismo when he was police chief in 2013-2014 pleaded guilty to civil rights violations stemming from the false arrest of 3 suspects. All 3 ex-cops cooperated with the FBI and prosecutor Harry Wallace, Donald Taylor, in the hope of reducing their prison time. Let's see. In August, officers pled guilty to falsifying the arrest affidavit for a 16-year-old black suspect for 4 unsolved break-ins in June 2013. This was just a month before then police chief Atismo touted the town's 100% burglary clearance record in a village commission meeting. In October, Judge Moore sent each to prison for a maximum of 1-year term.
1 year.
Yeah.
1 fucking year.
The 3 cops got a year. The police chief got 3 years.
So we're talking about a total of 6 years in prison for 4 people who destroyed the lives of people, including a 16-year-old kid. It's not like they went to prison and everything was honky-dory, right? Like, you don't go to prison and they go, oh, you're innocent? Oh, okay, well, we're going to be gentle with you and everything will be fine. Like, it took them 3 years. 3 years to get him out. And that 3 years, from 16 to 19, is arguably some of the most formative of his adult years. And he wasn't in school. He wasn't going to college. He wasn't playing professional sports. He wasn't doing anything.
He was learning from criminals.
Yeah, he was learning from criminals. He was being treated like an animal. And you want to sit here and you want to say that somehow giving these motherfuckers 1 year each and then 3 years is justice.
Yeah. Not at all, dude.
That's not
They
even.
know
It's not
that.
even close to justice. No. I'm trying
They know it and they don't give a fuck.
No, they don't care. And the people that convicted him don't care. They're just sad that they had to admit that somebody that's part of their special club did something wrong.
Exactly. Because it makes them look bad. It's all about optics to them. They're more worried about optics than fucking, what's really going on. What's fucking actually morally justified.
Yeah, morally justified. Yeah, that's why I do not believe that morals are objective.
I mean, seriously, like he's 16 years old,
and they sent him to. They framed him for a crime. Like, okay, granted, they picked this kid because he had some other issues, right? Like, I don't know, maybe he was smoking pot or whatever else. But he was
innocent drug issues.
He was known to them, so that's why they picked this kid. And they framed him for what was it? Four break-ins.
Yeah,
they framed him for 4 break-ins, which sent him to prison, so that he could claim a 100% success rate.
Well, and even consider, let's say hypothetically, right? Let's say hypothetically, this kid is a career robber.
If he wasn't then, he is now.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is he's 16 years old. He has an opportunity to maybe turn things around, and maybe he's been innocent for like a year. Mm-hmm. Maybe he hasn't done anything. Maybe he's been like, no, man, I don't want to go back to prison. This is terrible. What have you done? You've not only sent him to criminal school to learn how to do his shit better and not get caught.
Not only gonna do that, but like he made connections on the inside. Number one, that's just the way it works. Mm-hmm. And number 2, the lawsuit that's coming, the kid is going to get paid. And now we're going to have a person that is angry at the system, a person that has criminal contacts, a person that literally believed his life was thrown away, a person that is angry with the police, and now you're going to hand him a shit ton of money. Like, he's not going to be a fan of theirs ever.
You know what I think, honestly, what this tells me is that I really think, and I truly believe that anarchists need to make more contact with people like that. Mm-hmm. We need to start getting a hold of them. We need to start making allies with them, because the more of them that we can connect with, the more stories we can concentrate and voices we can concentrate together of people who have experienced this, who understand, help them, coach them on being articulate to the media and things, so that they can vocalize the dangers of the state well.
Absolutely.
That's what we need to do.
Nobody creates more anarchists than the state. Like us sitting here talking on this podcast, us talking to people one-on-one, we will never create more anarchists than the actions of the state.
Well, yeah, because once it's on their doorstep, it's fucking real.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, you know what? And
you know what I mean? It'll change your fucking viewpoint real quick.
Until I experienced the VA, until I experienced what the police will do to someone with a military background who's accused of something violent, whether or not they did it or not, and don't know one way or another, because they have no idea, and the way that they treated me, the way that they've treated friends, until I saw what the police in particular did to me and my friends. I was a hardcore neocon. I fully believed in the state.
Well,
I was
not only that, but like the DHS, according to the DHS's list of potential terrorist characteristics, I think is what the list is. That was put out by DHS. I want to say 2013, 2013, something like that. Like returning veterans are potential terrorist suspects, like people that have more than 7 days worth of food, such as preppers, people that own firearms, people that tout freedom, people that support the Ron Paul movement, things like that. Like, those are potential terrorist suspects according to the federal government.
To most of the American public?
No.
All right, no. Quick question. Now, how does the Israeli police or the IDF treat people that they consider potential terrorists?
And who's training U.S. law enforcement now?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. That's the connection I'm trying to make there.
Oh yeah,
because you know what I mean. They're being trained to treat people like Palestinians essentially.
Not only that, but like there's U.S. military that are training domestic law enforcement, and they're teaching them the war mentality.
Not even training, but that's most new cops are returning veterans.
Yeah,
and not just returning veterans, but a lot of them are returning infantry veterans, returning MPs. they're guys who were either on the front lines or very, very close to front lines.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Combat, who were trained on that you can't trust anybody, everyone's a threat, all this other stuff. And that's their mentality. And you know what's sad is when I back before I started to see the state for what it was, I thought that was a good thing. I thought that was a good idea. I thought that, yes, we need to have that because they're the ones who are going to keep us safe because they know to watch out for these threats and everything else. And I never once asked the question, but what if they see everyone as a threat and they're not?
Yeah, exactly.
What happens then? What if the state tells them that a person is a threat who isn't actually a threat? I never drew those lines because I didn't want to. And what, you know, and what drove it home to me was my own interactions with police and things. But I remember when I was arrested, the one time that I was arrested, like for something significant, and clearly she had told them who I was. When I got reported and stuff and the phone call was made to get me arrested, she had told them who I was because they were very, very, very cautious with me. To the point where other guys, when I finally got put into Gen Pop, are like, I've never seen them like that with anybody. They know who I am. They're well aware of who I am, and the fact that they are now aware of me means that I'm much more likely to die in a police encounter around here than anybody else is because I'm a threat immediately.
Yeah, of
I'm
course.
a serious threat.
Well, see, that's because the government gave you the fucking skills to, you know, do what you're capable of doing, and then once you're released back in the general, you know, the general population, they're like, oh, Jesus Christ, we got these guys roaming around. And, you know, if they want to turn those skills back around on us, you know, that's no good.
Well, look at
that's one of the things that Ben Stone talks about in Sedition, Subversion, and Sabotage is the need for people that are returning vets, the need for vets that are disenfranchised with the government or feel left out, you know, or neglected by the government, and reaching out to them and being somebody that they can rely on and showing them voluntarism and showing them the benefits of a free market and this and that, because those people are highly valuable people in the sort of things outlined in Sedition, Subversion, Sabotage.
They're trained in, you know, force multiplication.
Well, Sedition, Subversion, and Sabotage is the name of our fucking game. Like, dude, that's why you see so many. And the funny thing is they recruit special operations from guys who show exceptional intelligence. We're able to think on our feet. We're able to do things and think in ways that most people aren't.
Yeah, you're able to adapt to situations quickly.
We're able to adapt. We're able to think outside the box. We're able to go, well, I could go straight through, but why not go around in the way that no one expected me to?
Yeah.
We're able to look at things in ways that normal guys who go into the military and things aren't. And that's capacity for violence that other people aren't capable of.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I learned. Like, you and I talked about that book series, 299 Days.
Yep.
We talked about that guy, Special Forces Ted, and how you would relate to the character. And one of the things that they really talk about in that book, with Ted's abilities as Special Forces, is that as a hammer, like he can hammer, like he can you know, swing a broadsword and do all this, right? But the mental aspect of being in Special Forces and the ability to talk to people, to motivate people, to influence people, to change people's minds, the political chops that one has to have to be a Special Forces soldier is almost even greater than their capacity for violence, because they are more than just footline soldiers. They're emissaries or ambassadors between the broadsword, or between the scalpel and the government. And that you have to have an extremely high IQ and the ability to rationalize and think out of the box to be in that position. And those type of people make perfect anarchists.
Well, and so many of us already basically are. Like, we don't know what the name for it is, but so many of us have seen what the government is. We know what they're capable of. We understand what they're doing. All you have to do is within the anarchist community is reach out to these guys and this is my biggest objection to the way a lot of people interact with veterans is they're so hate on veterans.
I don't.
You're a bunch of baby killers.
Brutalism. I despise brutalism.
And it's so stupid because it's like all of these people would listen to you if you showed them understanding and sympathy and said, look, you're being lied to, you've been lied to. You need to realize that the reason that you're having the issues mentally that you are now is because you weren't meant to do this and this was wrong. But don't worry, it's okay. We can win. We can beat them. We can take power back from them, back to ourselves, back to the people. We can do things that, will make up for what happened. And if you talk to them and you have compassion and understanding and you listen to what guys like me have to say, even before we're anarchists, you can build so many allies that long term are going to be so fucking massive. But so many anarchists are so short-sighted and stupid about it.
Let me just say this real quick, and this goes out to all the anarchists that, they got that elitist, condescending dickhead attitude. You know what I mean? It's like humble yourselves, because you got to fucking realize that these people that you call status are what you were before you fucking came to the realization that aggressive force isn't fucking warranted. So it's like if you really want to bring people over to your camp or whatever, and you gotta speak to people rationally, and you gotta help them understand. And you got to have varying approaches, because you can't just use one approach with everybody, because everybody's different. You know what I mean? It's like some people respond better to, certain things. Like I tend to ask a lot of questions, just to get them thinking in those terms, because, once you get people thinking in those terms, then it's like it kind of plants the seed instead of just telling somebody something.
I'm of the same. I camp on that one. You attract more flies with honey than vinegar. Yeah. Right. Well, you don't always have to use honey, right? Just talking to people like human beings, like that's exactly. That's one of the things that's really missing a lot on social media and missing a lot in the anarchist outreach is humanity. Treat people like human beings, right? Talk to them like you would talk to your brother or your sister or your best friend or your aunt. Talk to the elder generation. Talk to them like you would talk to your aunt or your grandma or your uncle, and as you said, there's such an entitlement mentality. There's so much ego. There's way too much ego and not enough soul in the anarchist
humility
outreach. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and ego is a big thing, because I mean, to be special operations, special forces, you have to have a massive fucking ego.
Yes. You have to know you're the shit.
Right. Exactly. You have to know that you're amazing.
There's a difference between having an ego and letting it override you, or utilizing your ego to its advantages.
Right. And the problem
because people say kill your ego, and I'm like, no, because your ego serves a purpose. It's like, it's there for a fucking reason.
Confidence and arrogance. There's a line. There's a line there.
Right, yeah. But what I'm saying is that in order to be special operations and special forces, you have to have that personality, because otherwise the rest of us will eat you alive. That's simply the case.
Yeah, exactly.
Or you'll just die. I mean, one of those two. You'll go out on an op and then you'll die, and none of us will cry. But the
not publicly.
Yeah, but I mean that's brutal reality. But the thing is what you need to realize is when you approach guys like me is if you listen to what we say especially guys that are retired, guys that left willingly, a lot of times you will hear a lot of beginnings of anarchism, a lot of beginnings of libertarian thought, a lot of these beginnings of these things. If all you do is try and hurt our ego, all you've done is set us on the defensive and made us hate you.
Yeah, exactly.
And you haven't done anything beneficial to anyone. All you've done is reinforce to us that we're on the right side because we hate you. We think you're a douche. We're awesome, and we're on this side. So clearly your side sucks.
But
and you guys will double down and dig your heels in.
That's
right.
That's true with all human interactions, though, because like if I were to come up to you, Jason, and be like, only a fucking dumbass thinks the sky is blue. It's clearly purple. You're a fucking idiot. How fucking dare you?
Yeah.
You're gonna immediately go, even if it's like brown, you're gonna go, no, I'm pretty sure it's blue.
What the fuck?
Because
ad hominems are a weak mind's argument.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's a Jason Booth quote. You can quote me on that.
I hate to bring this around to customer service.
You're welcome.
You gotta build a rapport with your audience.
Yeah. You have to. Well, and you have to connect with us. But that's the thing is, I guess. I mean, this has gone way off track. But my point really was, like, you need to understand that so much of anarchism needs to be talking to people on a person's level, and needs to be understanding as well that guys who are in a position to help the movement in a very significant way need to be guys that you target. So, like, for instance, this poor kid who is 16 years old, he's sent to prison, his life is torn away. Even if he's made a few mistakes, chances are probably good. This kid just lives in a rough neighborhood. He gets in trouble occasionally, but that doesn't mean he's a bad person. Doesn't mean he's a career criminal at the age of 16.
Trouble being a entirely disputed word.
He runs afoul of the state is what it means.
Yes.
And that's all he's done to this point. And what you need to realize is that this kid is now prime. He's 19 years old. He's an adult. He's out of prison. He's now prime for somebody in the area who's an anarchist to go to him and say, look, we have an answer for what happened to you. We have an explanation. We can work with you and the things that we can achieve if you help us out. You know, be another voice. You have this platform. And you
tell your story.
And that's what needs to start happening. I mean, not necessarily in a pushy way, but people need to start looking at this as these are possible allies. And these are allies that also need our movement, because this kid now needs an explanation for what happened to him.
Provide guidance.
Absolutely. Like he should be talked about more in anarchist circles than George W. Bush died.
Absolutely.
Agreed.
No. Yep. So.
Well, that's the whole thing. It's just provide guidance, man.
That's all they're really. Yeah. All right, let's get on to the last article. I've been waiting all night for this one. Man fired Civil War cannon at his neighbors for 8 days during dispute.
As the founding fathers intended.
Right.
A 52-year-old man who allegedly fired a Civil War cannon at his neighbor's house for 8 straight days during an ongoing feud was arrested yesterday.
It's so beautiful.
New York's Brian.
It was worth it.
New York's Brian J. Malta is accused of repeatedly firing his antique long tom, loaded with powder, charge, and wadding, at the Prosser Hill Road, Jamestown property. While it's not illegal to own a cannon, deputies reported confiscated it because it was used maliciously. Malta lives in the rural town of Cantillon on the Pennsylvania border, about 60 miles south of Buffalo. While the AP reported Malta fired at the homes of multiple neighbors, Buffalo YNN claimed Malta's wrath was directed toward one neighbor for more than a week. Malta was arrested at 11 a.m. yesterday, but was released from the Chautauqua County Jail after posting $2,500 bail. He is due to face North Harmony Town Court charged with 3 counts of second-degree menacing and 3 counts of second-degree harassment. Details of the dispute have not been released.
So you said 8 days?
Yeah, 8 days. He fired that with just wadding and powder at his neighbors for 8 days.
I admire his dedication, man. That's like
it's just so gloriously obnoxious.
Right?
Like, and he wasn't actually legitimately hurting anyone. It was
it's a total dick move.
Annoying.
It was just powder. Yeah, it was just powder.
Can you imagine every so often just boom in your house?
like
there he fucking goes again. Fucking cocksucker.
And this cannon is totally within the realm of the Second Amendment as gun grabbers interpret it.
Exactly, as the founding fathers intended. They absolutely knew this kind of gun existed because it absolutely existed.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
In the 1780s.
Mm-hmm. Yes. even though this is the Civil War version, it still existed in 1791 when it was all ratified.
Yep.
It's
just
that's fucking beautiful.
So glorious. Like,
I want to party with that guy.
I know, dude. Like, people,
like, he did that shit with like a fucking, like, he had like an American flag in one hand and that shit was like blown in the wind with a beer bottle in the other, and a bald.
Is he smiling? Is he smiling in his booking photo?
There he is.
Yeah, I think he is.
How did I know he had a mustache? How did I know he had a mustache?
That is the look of, yeah, you know what? Fuck you.
I bet you he was wearing a Make America Great hat too.
That's the worth it smile.
Yeah, it is annoying, and I understand that was kind of a douchey thing to do, but I can't take sides on whatever the dispute was because I don't think the article says.
The article does not outline the dispute.
I can take sides of the dude that fired the cannon because he's a fucking man.
But I will say that, like, and that's the thing, is he's firing blanks. He's not actually hurting anyone. It's just really fucking annoying. However, the best part about it to me from the get-go of this article has in fact been the fact that this gun design overall, with some very, very slight variations and improvement in metallurgy, was the exact same thing used 87 years prior during the drafting of the Declaration of Independence. Like, it 87 years prior to its invention, because it's Civil War, right? It's the same kind of gun. It's basically just a big metal fucking tube. That's it. And
they had them on pirate ships in what, like the 1600s? Early 1700s.
The long toms actually have a really interesting history because it says it's a long tom, right?
Yeah, that's what the article said.
Yeah. So long toms actually have a really interesting history. They actually turned into some really, by the end of the Civil War, some kind of very like modern style weapons. We actually still used a long tom in World War I style thing. It was a breech loader by then, but it was called a long tom 155 millimeter.
Yep.
So we still use that design of weapon all the way on up through. It's a really, it's just basically a gun. It's a cannon, so it's smoothbore, right? So a gun's got to have rifling. Cannon is smoothbore, but still used for direct fire. Mortars are used for indirect fire and high arcing. There's a lot of complication there. Howitzers, same kind of thing, but less so. It gets really complicated, but basically what it means is that he's using this exact same gun that the people on the left who want to sit there and say, well, the Second Amendment only applies to what existed in the 1780s. Well, this fucking existed, so if he decides to load a fucking cannonball in that motherfucker and blow a hole in someone, well,
exactly.
Completely, that's the Second Amendment. What are you going to complain about? Like,
I just like
cannons next.
I could like I want to own a cannon. Like I want to wake up every morning and like fuck the rooster cock-a-doodle-doo. Like
Fire it at like 6 a.m.
6:38 a.m. every morning.
See, I'm actually pretty sure that a cannon's completely legal in California.
Actually, that particular cannon, fun fact, is legal in California. And I can tell you this for certain because any weapon that is black powder is not considered, that is muzzle loading in black powder is not considered a true firearm under federal law. It is.
I can have black powder rifles bought in the mail and shipped to me.
Yep.
I can't have ammo shipped to me now anymore.
Here's where things get really interesting for California and for a few other gun grabber states, though. You know what else you could have technically bought? I don't know if you can have them shipped to you necessarily, depending on the wording of the law in your state, but a lot of places you can. Colt single action armies.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I can.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think you can have them straight up shipped to you. They're actually, they use a metallic cartridge, everything else, but you can actually have them shipped to you because they date from before 1899, and that's usually the cutoff is 1899. So anything that it was a weapon that was in use prior to that is still not considered a gun anymore. It's grandfathered in. The fun fact is like the
can you imagine trying to conceal carry a Colt single action?
I mean, you could.
Could you imagine? Could you imagine pulling it out?
Challenge.
Draw, partner. Bang, 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 bang. Like, I mean, I know people. If you've ever seen Mutualek shoot, that guy. I mean, I know people who can shoot those really fast, and really accurately. But no, I mean, and realistically, if you're in your average gunfight, you pull that out, pull the hammer back. Most people look at it and go, "Fuck." So because it's in what?
Yeah,
you got to hold it. You got to hold it sideways though.
The
full
Colt
effect. For full effect.
draw, partner, yo. Like, what do you? He said we're gonna meet at high noon. Not mean. Like.
Draw at 100 paces.
This corner ain't big enough for the both of us.
Fist full of tree fitty. Hilarious. But no, you actually, and what's funny is like there are guns that are repeaters, pistols and self-loading rifles and things that predate that. The Mauser C96 is a classic one. C96 broom handle Mauser, it's the basis for Han Solo's blaster in Star Wars, if anyone's curious. They actually made it in fully automatic called the Schnellfeuer, which still boggles my mind because it has an internal magazine but it has a non-removable magazine. It predates 1899. It's called the C96 because it's from 1896. That's California legal.
No shit.
You get the old Golden Boys. That'd be a nice one to have too.
Yeah, you could what's that? The Borchardt. You could get your hands on a Borchardt. That's also, or a Mars. That monstrosity, the Mars automatic pistol, the gun that was so big and powerful that every military was like, yeah, no. Like they're all California legal, so like, hey, buy yourself fucking cannon. It's California legal. Use it for home defense. Load it with grape shot. What are they gonna do about it? It's not even a firearm. What are you gonna do?
Gonna open carry a freaking cannon.
Just drag it with you.
Just drag it along. It's gonna be my passenger seat in the carpool lane. I'll have it sitting in the passenger seat, and then I'll put a wig on it or something, and
it'd be useful for rush hour. Get motherfuckers out of the way.
Boom. I mean, what? No, you got to get like what was the name of the guns, the little guns that like the captains on the pirate ships had, like right by they had the little guns. But anyway, get like one of those.
The little swivel cannons.
Yeah, swivel gun. Get one of those and mount it on the passenger door with a stick that comes over. Oh, I'm sorry. Were you road raging?
Utopians bust. Jeremy here. Firstly, to have you back, or glad to have you back on Facebook, Mr. Hordor. It's been too lame without you rousing the rabble. Secondly, needed a good laugh about the cannon firing. Good man, as always. great RT discussion. Yeah.
Glad to be back.
Yes, Dan's back on Facebook.
Dan's on Facebook again.
For how long? Like 3 days?
Oh yeah, I've already told.
Well, I'm only on day one.
Well, he's back today, but like Andrew and I talked about before you got here, like we should get a betting pool going and see how long before you have your first ban.
3 days.
Like,
well, I've already posted a couple Israel memes, so.
Well, that's what I said. Like you posted your profile, like you made a profile picture and you made the cover photo, and like the next thing you posted was a 9/11 meme.
Yep.
Yes. I don't know if you caught this, Dan, but Andrew just is about to get off of a 30-day ban from something he posted 2 years ago. So be careful.
Yeah, I know.
Dan's got a fresh account, a fresh start. Like,
yeah, they're starting a new file on me now.
Yeah,
they generally remove your picture like 4 times and tell you, hey, don't do that again. Then it's a 3-day ban, 3-day ban, 7-day ban, 30.
Yep.
Yeah, I've had my.
I knew it all too well.
I've had my 3.
Oh, Dan, before he had 3 accounts going at the same time.
Yeah, and I'd be like juggling them.
Oh.
Like 2 of them would be on a 30-day ban, and I'd have to like behave myself on the 3rd one.
Well, how long has it been since you were on Facebook?
Just about a year, because I got kicked off like at the end of December of 2017.
No.
A year.
That's a long time.
Hell yeah, man.
7 days sucked. The 7 days sucked. Thank God for Telegram and Instagram.
I missed you.
In the past 90 days, I have spent 29 days being able to be active on Facebook.
And your 30 days is up what, the 5th or 6th, something like that I saw?
The 6th. Yeah, so 4 more days is the recording of this. 4 more days and then I'm back on again.
It's at the gulag.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
I give Andrew 5 days.
So. I'm actually planning. I'm going to do a big return video. I'm gonna do the Path of the Righteous Man thing that Samuel L. Jackson says, and then I'm gonna cut to the Eminem song with the music, and yeah, that's gonna be my reentry to Facebook. So
yeah, if there's no spaghetti in the video, it doesn't count.
So. There will be mom's
spaghetti. Yeah, so
I'll make sure to stick some of the stuff that we have in the fridge on you.
Just taste all
dancing in the back in a spaghetti bikini.
Yeah, but that might be too much skin.
Yeah, it's too much. I'll just catch a ban all over again.
Right?
I mean, you can't post pictures of your pants for Christ's sake, so I'm still really bitter about that.
That would be like some
ban off of that.
That'd be some gangster ass shit. Like you get banned like within like 20 minutes of coming back from a 30-day ban. Just come back hard as fuck.
I was teasing him earlier actually about the fact that we don't even know. He might actually already have another 30-day ban just waiting for him because, I mean, who knows? He did just get a 30-day off of something he posted 2 years ago. Maybe they've got more of his stuff.
Yeah, like like once they unlock it for you, they're like, oh, here's another 7-day ban on top of that. You'd be like, motherfucker.
Zuckerberg just sends me a message like, we have this re-education camp to send you to.
Right? We can shorten your sentence. We'd like to re-educate.
Well, they say that's what happens after you get your second 30-day ban. Zuckerberg comes to your house and actually smashes your phone?
That's not true.
That's what happened to
That's
me.
definitely not true.
They just digitally assassinated me.
Yeah, I'm on my.
Yeah, you got booted off. You got blackballed from Facebook and Twitter.
Yep. I had almost like almost 4 or 5,000 followers in like 8 months on Twitter, and then fucking they were like, nope, sorry.
Have you caught an IG ban yet?
No, surprisingly, I've had 2 things removed.
Yeah.
Yeah, Instagram tends to just remove posts. They won't ban you necessarily. They'll ban you if you get enough reported
complaints. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went private. I was like, fuck that.
Yeah, I know a lot of people who have done that on Instagram to keep from getting booted, and it does work. It keeps you from getting
booted.
Because then in order to see it, you have to be knowing what you're doing. So
yep. Yeah, and the funny thing is like it seems that I get more followers if I'm private because people are like intrigued and they like want to know like, oh, what else does he have on there if they see like other people post in my posts.
Yeah. Yep. All right, you guys got anything else?
I can screen them, so yeah. No,
we got to get off because I got to take a piss. So. Yeah. All right. Well, this has been episode. I don't
48, I believe.
I don't remember the number. 48 or something like that.
I think it's 40. Yeah, 48.
48. Hashtag war cannons. All right, and we'll catch you next time, I guess.
Yep.
Find us on Facebook. Peace.